and you find out where those people get information, spend time, the things that you're going to get. Like I'll go through marketing for an example. The things that you're going to get some big communities, revenue collective peak. You're going to get some sub communities, which would be like 10 to 50 person groups that meet regularly that may not have like a scaling membership model. You're going to get LinkedIn. You're going to get some like VC, PE sponsored group that has like monthly meetups. Those are some of the places that you're going to get. Whatever you get for your customer, the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to figure out how to be a part of those places. So you're going to figure out how to be in the communities or in the places where they are. And when you do that, it's the next step is to act like a peer. It may not be you too, for the sake of the conversation. If you're selling to CIOs, it might be better off to be your CIO or your director of IT or whoever it is than a marketer. So depending on your buyer, you think about changing those things. When we were doing this in medical, we would use respiratory therapists that work for our company, and we would use medical, either neonatologists, ICU intensivists that also worked for our company. So we hired our best customers essentially to do this. Figure out what the communities are, start actually living in them, and the thing that you're gonna open up there that almost no company has is an ongoing flow of insights that your competitors never see. It's why we innovate so fast here at Refine Labs. It's because I always know what's going on because I have hundreds of people giving me all that information every day who are my exact customer. So figuring out how to open that piece up. The next piece, once you do that, is you need to figure out how to build a content strategy that's going to work in those places. And the key word here is that's going to work in those places, right? There's plenty of companies that have an SEO content strategy, then they try and push a couple blogs onto LinkedIn that never work. We're talking about having native content in whatever platform that is to put it in there, that now that you have a sense of the community, you understand what people are liking, you understand what they're commenting on, you understand what they're saying, that you can put something in there. So this is the strategy. Who are we going after? Who is the target for this? What information are we sharing? What's our point of view? What are the key topics that they care about? Who's going to be the subject matter expert that's going to be able to create this information? How are we going to resource it? How are we going to produce it? How often do we need to produce it? What things are we going to need to do that? All of those questions need to get answered. You don't need to answer them all up front. You can answer a couple of them, start doing stuff, and learn along the way. Easy example of that is go back to episode 1 of our podcast. We didn't have a lot figured out either. I was using AirPods, and so we didn't even have a mic, and that's totally cool, right? Like you don't have to go from. I think what holds a lot of people back is they try to go from 0 to 100 real quick, and so instead of thinking about how do I create content that people like, they obsess over whether or not they sound good with their mic. They obsess about whether they said too many times, as opposed to, is this information really working for my buyer? So you're going to put together a strategy that is going to involve a lot of resources, it may not be more resources, but it's going to be different resources than what companies put on these projects right now. Especially if you're not selling to marketers or salespeople, you're going to most likely need different resources on this project. And then you're going to actually go and start executing on a content strategy and putting that stuff out there. The last piece, I'm sure there's more, but I'll leave it at this for right now, is you need to identify what are the dark funnel channels that are going to work for you for distribution. And I'm going to go through this. This part is super, super fascinating. And so our strategy from Refine Labs, I'll lay this out to you right now, is that we put content in two main places. We put it on LinkedIn and we put it on a podcast. So those are the two places that it gets put. But listen, there is earned distribution, I call it secondary distribution. There's probably tertiary distribution too that happens that nobody sees, and that is all of the value. So when I put my content on LinkedIn this morning, and it probably has 15,000 views right now, and 1% of those views, which would be 150 people, clipped the link and shared it somewhere else, that's where the value is, because people trust their peers. And so somebody clips that link about why marketers don't innovate because they're handcuffed by attribution, and then they clip it and they share it in their company's Slack channel. And then I get somebody that passes my information directly to all the decision makers inside of that company. Or the person that clips it from there, pulls it out and shares it in some marketing Reddit community. I've had that. I know when that happens because I get 20 LinkedIn DMs from people on Reddit saying they saw it. Shares it in a Reddit community, or pulls it out, takes it, shares it in Dave Gerhardt's Facebook group. Any of those, that's secondary distribution where a peer that's not me says this content is really good and then gives it to a bunch of other people in a different place. And that process can continue to repeat. So it could go secondary, tertiary, all in different places. That's the magic. None of that stuff gets tracked. Nobody sees it, and therefore they don't do it. And that would be that's a pretty logical sequence, because all of the people that are winning right now, all the companies that are winning are doing some form of that. The channels might be different, the audience might be different, some things might be different, but they're doing that. They're in channels that can't be tracked 100% accurately. They're putting content in there that you love, and then you're taking some of that and you're sharing it with peers or coworkers or otherwise in other places that they're not in. And that's how right now, August 26, 2021, that's how you build a B2B brand. That's why there aren't a lot of B2B brands that people love unless they use their product. If you're a B2B brand, your objective should be that everyone in the market loves us, not just people that use our product. And they love us because we go into things with the right mindset, that we have a progressive, modern strategy in terms of marketing and interacting with our customers and the market. We produce the best information on the internet for our buyers, which creates massive affinity and trust and credibility. And we don't spam people with sales-focused messaging all the time, trying to convert people and shove people into meetings when they hate it. And that's the most clear-cut, simple strategy on how to build a brand today. Companies can't do any of the things that I just said for a couple of reasons. And then I'll close out because I definitely want to give people an opportunity to ask questions. They won't do those things for a couple of different reasons. One, their mindset on marketing is fundamentally broken. This is the number one. It drives everything else underneath. They think of marketing as sales support. They think of marketing as lead gen. They think of marketing as let's think about investing in marketing when something goes wrong, when sales doesn't hit their targets, blah, 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 blah. The mindset of marketing is broken. It's the most fundamental, easy one. The next one is that they set the wrong metrics. They set metrics on leads or MQAs or poor definition of pipeline or website traffic or influenced revenue or a bunch of shit that doesn't matter. And the last one is that they're over obsessed with attribution. I talk about this all the time. I post about it on LinkedIn today. They're over obsessed with attribution. All of the things that I just told you about how to do this, aside from fix the core and hit your goals, everything else afterwards were all places that attribution software would tell you not to focus on. And the changes are happening so rapidly. Buyers are moving so fast. Do you think tech vendors are going to respond and tell you not to do this stuff? You think they're going to change their entire strategy around this? No, they're going to keep telling you to do what they've been telling you to do so they can sell more technology. And there's just so much misalignment in that camp that I really hope a couple people think about that, because there's a wild opportunity out there. And I'm gonna close out here now that I recognize that I talked for 42 minutes straight. So let's get into some questions.